crafty friends, it's Donna here, and I have a set of 5 beautiful inky cards for you today. These combine papers with some beautiful stained glass style dies from the Alora range from Paper Rose Studio. First, there's this 2-part die called Alora stained glass background, and then the butterfly stained glass die. Aren't they beautiful? And here's the inky papers I was telling you about. A couple of them have some fabulous tree designs that I really want to make the most of. I'm going to tape both parts of this stained glass window die together to run it through my die cutting machine, and also run the butterfly die through. You can see down on my work mat the border that was made by using the 2 dies together, and now I'm going to poke out all the little pieces. I like to do as much as I can while my die cut is still in the die, and then remove it and tidy up anything that's left over. Here are the 2 dies, and here's a shot where you can actually see them. Let's start with one of those beautiful tree papers. I do not want to cover this up, and so I'm just going to simply add this frame, which has been cut from a beautiful Shimmer cardstock, and add a sentiment. I'll talk more about the sentiments and ways that I've adapted them at the end of this video. These stained glass dies and the coloured papers behind are just such a lovely match. They really do give a lovely stained glass effect. I'm making sure when I glue the back to use tiny dots, but also to glue anything that's going to potentially get flipped up, like the antennas or the tips of the wings. Also, because I've used such tiny dots of glue, I want to make sure that my die cut is in really good contact with my paper, and so I'm using some acrylic blocks just to hold everything down until that glue is dry. Let's go back to that 2-part die. If you use just the outline, you can cut a matching sheet to go with the front, and that's what I've done here. I'm going to pop this up with some foam. For those of you who've been following along for a while, this foam is still nowhere near running out, and so we're destined to all see blue foam behind my popped up elements for quite a while to come. I've chosen a beautiful Ivory cardstock for this card, which goes with the Shimmer cardstock that I chose for my stained glass frame, and I'll link everything below. If for you this look that you see here is too busy, you might like to think about putting some vellum behind your die cuts, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that now. Vellum is notorious for wrinkling when it gets glue on it, but it can be done. I'm using quite a dry, tacky glue, and I'm spreading it really thinly, using my fingers even, so that I don't have enough moisture to warp the vellum. The other thing that I'm doing is immediately removing any extra glue that I can spot. And that is dried really flat. But now I need to take care again when gluing it down to my card base. So I'm using the glue that I can see through the vellum as a bit of a reference for where to put my small dots. And that's going to help me have a beautiful flat card with no warping. If that kind of fine glue work is not for you, then stick around, because the next card I'm going to show you a different technique that allows you to be a bit freer with your adhesive. Both of these Alora dies have some beautiful diamonds and squares throughout the design, and we're going to use those as our anchor points, as well as the bigger sections of the butterfly in the case of this die. So to start with, I've just glued down the bodies of my butterflies. And I've saved, I like to think that I've saved, actually I rummaged through my waste paper basket and found again all of these beautiful little diamonds. And as I glue those down, I'm just making sure that the glue spreads a little bit further than the diamond to either connect it to the outside or to connect the outside to the back, so there's a little tiny bit of glue spread. I also further rummaged and found these little corners, and these are probably the most important things for holding everything down. And you can see when I lay this down that you'll have a much subtler background now that we've added the vellum. I did need to go back afterwards and put a tiny dot of glue in the center of each side where I just thought it was lifting a tiny bit. But mostly those diamonds held the whole design together. Let's have a quick look at the sentiments, because I've done a couple of little things that you might find useful when it comes to making the most of your sentiments. I keep my sentiments in storage envelopes, but what I wanted to show you today is some ideas for using these ticket sentiments. I love the tickets, but I don't always want a ticket sentiment. And you can quite easily cut down the top and bottom and turn it into a strip. Or if the sentiment on the ticket is vertical rather than long and thin like this one, you can still cut around the words and once again have a sentiment that is not ticket shaped. Lastly, a word on adhesives. You can see on the back of this tag I have popped this up with foam tape, but I've used 2 different foam tapes. Every foam tape has its own thickness, and I've made the most of this by having a thicker tape where it's going to fall into the gaps and a thinner one where it's going to hit the die cut at the front. I hope you've enjoyed these cards, that you have loved looking at these beautiful papers, that you have got some great ideas to use in your own craft room, and that you're having a super day. Feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I will be back soon with some more cards. Bye for now.